To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Open the meeting for public comment. Is there any public comment? Yes?
My name is Joan Potter. It's been a while since I've been here. Same complaints. I would like to, how do I get to be put on the agenda? I would like to be put on the agenda for a public comment.
Okay.
And can I do that, say, July 15th? We're gonna be gone for a couple of weeks, so it'll probably give me that long to get the public comment up.
Okay. We'll get you on there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Shirley?
Mr. Chairman, I have some questions. Last week on June 24th, there was a trust bill submitted and no action was taken during the actual meeting. It was to be discussed in a closed door meeting in the afternoon, is that correct?
The
Trust board bill that was discussed but not acted on in the morning, and we were told it would be acted on in the afternoon, is that correct?
No, there was no action taken on it.
So I have some
We didn't-
questions. Oh, go ahead.
We didn't have a closed door with the trust board meeting on, with the trust board on the 20th.
The trust board was not invited to this meeting.
I think that's what we're gonna try to do, is have a meeting with the trust board.
About that bill?
Yes.
Okay, because I guess my question is with closed door or afternoon meetings or whatever goes on, is the secretary present at those meetings?
Not if
Secretary
it's a
is not
closed
present
door.
at a closed meeting.
Is it open if you have a working meeting in the afternoon? Are you present then?
Depends
If I,
on,
if I am requested to be there.
Okay, I guess the rest of my questions are probably moot points if you didn't discuss it, so. I'm just
Mr.
trying to
Chairman.
clear the air here.
I believe she's referring to Debbie Randolph's claim.
Yes, that's what I'm referring to.
Debbie Rabb, when we have a working meeting with Debbie on the budget, Ann usually doesn't sit in on those meetings because Debbie's going over everything on the budget.
Okay, so was there an action taken on the bill that was submitted by Debbie last week?
No.
I'm sure, I think you said Debbie Randolph, me.
I'm sorry, yes.
But I
I'm
think Mike
sorry.
answered Debbie Kelly.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm like, I wasn't at a meeting.
Okay, I was just questioning because I wondered if it had been discussed. I had some questions, but if it wasn't, I guess
No,
I
it
don't have any
wasn't
questions.
discussed at the meeting, no.
I have a
Okay, all right,
question.
thank you.
Who requests her to, the secretary to be there?
Beg your pardon?
Who requests, you guys request her to be there at the meeting to take notes and,
No, we did not request her to be, requested Debbie
Randolph.
Randolph to be at the meeting?
No,
No, we did not.
the secretary? Who requests her? The
Yes.
secretary? You guys request her?
Yeah, she comes down and does minutes.
Okay, and will she be there at the trust board meeting?
Not
Can
if
we
it's,
request you to request her to be there?
not a closed door.
Okay,
If the closed door personnel meetings are very restrictive on what you can and can't do and who can and can't have. In fact, is when you get down to the closed door, all those minutes are supposed to go into an envelope that goes to the county attorney, that goes to a file somewhere where
okay,
it's only opened by a district judge, I believe.
okay. Good enough.
Any other public comment? So we can go to the, do you have a certificate of survey review, Bernadette?
I do.
You do?
A family transfer.
Okay.
If this is the new process, I know this is the first one, we discussed this last week. If you would like me to present the certificate of survey from now on with the landowners present, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I have a family transfer, certificate of survey for Robert Dale Price. And Mr. Price is here today to answer any questions you have. I also did not make a copy or 3 copies of the affidavit. I tend to not want to be wasteful, but if you would like these, you can each look over one in the future, I will do that. But, so for now, here's the affidavit along with a cover letter from Mr. Price.
I would prefer getting a copy via email
Okay.
afterwards when it's signed. That way we have an electronic copy and can, instead of a paper copy.
Super, okay.
Hey Nicole, can I ask you a couple questions? The road running through these tracks, is it a to be constructed road or is it an existing road that we already have? This
Just
one
the
right
name.
here.
This is Price Road,
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
but my question is access easement to track 1 and track 4.
Right, I'm not
How we
seeing,
access it.
I'm not seeing an access easement on tract 4.
And is
so I
there,
don't know.
and how about here for track 1?
Well, this is existing, 30 foot wide.
Right, well, it looks like it's just right here. This is,
Oh, I'm
this
sorry.
is, this is the well
Easement, you
and,
said it
well
in
and, well and water line,
Water line easement, you're right.
and is there as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was reading this as access when I originally looked at it, but there is no access to this lot.
And I don't believe, is there any access to this lot as well?
It doesn't appear to be, since this is well and water line easement.
Mhm.
So Nicole, is there access to track 4?
There doesn't appear to be on the survey.
Let me answer that question.
Yes.
Yes, there is a 20-foot access that goes from Price Road across the lot that I own to the side of that and goes out to lot 4. The surveyor didn't think it was necessary to put it down for this. He hasn't surveyed it, his lot, I mean, his business. Anyway,
Doesn't that have to be a deeded or an easement recorded on here for that?
For the- sorry, I have to sneeze. You know, I guess I would want to look at MCA. It seems as if yeah, I would have to look at MCA. I was hoping that there was something on this checklist, but access. Because the question then, to me, would be if in the future someone were to access that, if it's not shown on this survey, I don't know if it's shown on this COS. I can go and look at COS 2525 and see if that it's recorded on there,
Okay.
if you would like me to.
I would,
Okay.
if you don't
Do
mind.
you mind if I bring it down here? Okay. I'll be right back.
and make another comment.
Yes, sir.
On track 4, that's going to a son who also owns 39 acres immediately to the south.
You'll have to speak up, I can't hear you.
Track 4 is going to my son who also owns a track exactly to the north of it, which is agriculture land, which will continue as agriculture land.
Oh, okay,
Yes, we're getting a family transfer. It's in CRP, some of it, so the survey doesn't, CRP does not come out till 2022 or something like that. So it will stay in CRP beyond the 2 years that you're recommending for family transfers.
okay. His access is off adjoining land.
So it'd be this piece here you're talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah. If the piece ever sold in the future though, there'd be no access.
yeah, that's true. Yes, sir.
Perhaps the reason the surveyor didn't do that is we're going to make some property line changes to the tract that is in section 30. We're going to move the line to the north, so that is more than 40 acres. Then the track, this track here, 40, if we're gonna move its borderline to the north, taking part of the next two tracks, which they're bigger tracks, to make them 40. And the surveyor didn't wanna do that all at one time for some reason,
Okay.
so that's gonna be done in the future. We'll probably put the road on then, but anyway.
So this tract 4 is going to the son that owns adjacent land, so.
Yes.
Do we still need to have access to this piece irregardless if it's going to the adjacent landowner?
There's a road that goes to it.
So I think that, I don't have my MCA book down here with me.
You can
To
borrow
know if, does it say anything about access? Bernadette, mentioned that you can, these family transfer lots don't have to have access through the survey, through a COS process. And maybe she can speak more to that. Do you have the code?
Yeah, I
Didn't you?
do.
Okay.
I think it's
don't have that.
764207. But on an exemption survey, they are exempt from review. So the only thing the commission can look at is whether or not the landowner is using the exemption to evade the subdivision law. At the last legislation, Tara Depew brought forth a proposed bill to require easements and access to family transfers and other exempt surveys. The legislation refused to act on it. They said these are exempt from review. We cannot require anything on them. And it's unrecorded on the internet. It was about an hour discussion at the legislature. But they do not want to cross that line that these are exempt from review. So once you start putting requirements, it no longer is exempt from review. So as it stands right now, the only thing the commission can do is to look at an exemption. Is the landowner evading subdivision law or not? Just for clarification. And you won't find anything in there if you look to require easements or utility easements or any requirements whatsoever. I did not get a debriefing on Dan this morning like I normally do to bring these forward. So I'm not familiar. Now, I don't know if he failed to put it on. If it is an oversight, we have no problem putting it on, but it can't be a requirement.
Okay.
So what the MCA at 763207, divisions or aggregations of land exempted from the review, but subject to survey requirements and zoning regulations, exceptions, fees for examination of division. Subsection 2 reads, unless the method of disposition is adopted for the purpose of evading this chapter, the following divisions and or aggregations of tracts of record of any size, regardless of the resulting size of any lot created by the division or aggregation, are not subdivisions under this chapter, but are subject to the surveying requirements of 763401. And 76301 states survey requirements for lands other than subdivisions. All divisions of land for sale other than subdivisions after July 1, 1974 into parcels which cannot be described as 1/32 or larger must be surveyed by or under the supervision of a registered land surveyor. Surveys required must comply with 763406. So it doesn't say anything specific other than they have to be surveyed. So it does sound like there is an open door question for us. If you guys wanna look at this, you're more than welcome to. And there's the MCA.
And my assumption is we can't require it, so I don't know.
However, here's the, that's our charge.
It says you have to provide for ingress and egress. If this person owns this land, if he was to sell this, he would have to provide that access. So for the purpose of this, I don't think that it has to be included.
I think you're correct. However, there's no statute that says we're required to approve lots without access either, which is that MCA. So it does leave it up to us with the provisions provided there, public safety, ingress, egress.
So that's something that we'll address down the road if these lots are requested to be either another family transfer or subdivided.
Well, there's a philosophy in this position, and each person comes to their own definition of what that is. Are we here for today, or are we here making decisions that go into the future 10, 20, 50 years from now? 10 years from now, one of these lots sells without access. What kind of issues are there that we created? And that's why there's that MCA.
Can I offer
Yes.
a potential solution for this? Because I do not have the answer, but I'm certain that if I were to contact Tara Depew, she would have an answer. Do you want to table this till a later time? Can you, I guess that's the question, can you table it? I will go call her. You can, because I know I'm scheduled again for 10:30, but there were a few items in there. And then I can be back down with an answer. If that would help you with your decision, because I really don't know what the answer is. Legally, it seems, unless you have another direction.
I guess I'd like to know the answer to that question.
Would you also, ask her, to provide a definition of evasion of subdivision?
I'll call her right now, so I'm going to leave all of this where it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're gonna table that until Nicole gets back today then? Okay, so we'll table this issue until Nicole gets back down, so, let's see. Go some, we have claims here of, claims in the amount of $96,469.24.
I'll move we pay the claims and set amount.
No
Motion's been
second.
made to pay claims and set amount, is there a second?
A second.
Motion second, motion's been made, second to pay claims and set amount, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. We have minutes from June 24th, 2019.
Thank you. I'll move to approve the minutes of the 24th. as
Motion
submitted.
been made to approve minutes from June 24th, 2019. All in, is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Letter here from the United States Department of the Interior. Pleased to notify you that on June 20th, 2019, the Department of Interior issued payments under the PILT in lieu of taxes payment program. 2019, your county is receiving a PILT payment of $690,604. Have a receipt of payment from Bill Fleiner in the amount of $232.52. Okay. So I guess we can go to the commissioner's update. I attended the hospital board meeting where they had continuing discussions with St. Pete's and also a presentation from the Billings Clinic. Also attended a health board meeting and the Rocky Mountain Development Council Finance and Board of Directors meetings. That's all I did.
I attended the legislative subcommittee for justice and public safety, and that was for, the reason I was there with the County Attorneys Association, Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, the Victims Association, and a few others, was to advocate for a study into the transfer of the Board of Crime Control as an administratively attached autonomous agency under Department of Justice to a bureau within DOC. Our staff is now DOC staff. And it was encouraging. I think regardless of what happens, we got a huge win just getting the study. The bill was carried by Representative Bill Mercer, who used to be a U.S. attorney for in the state of Montana. And the committee seemed receptive, it brought together partners that have been working together, but sometimes at odds, and everybody was united on this one. It was pretty encouraging. So again, big win no matter what happens. We got the study, and that's the real positive point. And also Board of Health was last week.
Yeah, right, so I attended a lot of the same meetings. I guess one thing I wanna comment on is that, 2 weeks ago, we had a really good, department head meeting. It was very productive, and, we've got another one coming up here in, believe it or not, another week. I mean, time seems to go pretty quick, and I think they've been good meetings. And, I'm encouraged by what goes on there, and hope everybody continues to attend. I'm trying to think of the last meeting that we had down in the south end of the county for emergency services. I don't think anything new since then. Still, I think we're gonna have another meeting. Brandon coming up here probably before the rodeo, I think.
Yeah, I can't remember if we set a date out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
July 12th, right?
I was thinking the 12th or the 19th.
Yeah, I think it was the 12th, so that's the next one that is set. I guess maybe by way of announcement, so everybody knows that next week, July 10th, there'll be a commission meeting down in south end of the county at Headwaters Livestock at 5:30 in the evening. And meet with those folks down there, discuss some of the issues that they have. Yes, Tim?
Where's that meeting at and what time? The one on the south end?
Headwaters Livestock, 5:30,
At 5:30 in the evening?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Go on to the 10-15 city counter transfer, approval of agreement for transfer of entitlements.
You have that, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So what this is the, our airport receives funds to do continued maintenance, but they never receive enough to do all the maintenance. So there's a program out there where airports all share whatever entitlement they get. So for example, this money is going to be going down to the Livingston Airport to help them with their project. Now, when our project comes due, then all these other airports will donate their money back to us. So it's a pretty innovative way of getting the funding we need to help do the improvements on our airport. So what we're doing here is we're agreeing to transfer those entitlements to the Livingston Airport at this time.
Thank you for your explanation.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So is there a motion to approve the transfer of entitlements to the Livingston Airport then?
Yes, I will move that we transfer our entitlements to Livingston Airport.
And I'll second the motion.
Motion been made and discussed, made and seconded to approve the transfer of entitlements. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Sure, yeah, Mike?
Mike, go to you if you want.
Mr. Chairman, I have a quick question.
Yes.
You said that commission meeting will be July 10th. Will you also have the regular Monday meeting here on the 8th?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I've got my notes.
Going? Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, Mike Conkey, Broadwater County DES Coordinator. We get federal grants every year, emergency management performance grants. One of the items on our work for this quarter that just ended was to put together a recovery framework, pre-disaster recovery framework. And we've been working on this now for several months. The May LEPC, Local Emergency Planning Committee, reviewed it, kind of went through this. And basically what the framework is it's kind of like a plan, but if we have a disaster in our community, like for instance, major earthquake, it's like a 7.5 or something, we're gonna knock some buildings down here in town, most of these brick buildings and stuff. Or if we have upstream dam, Hebgen Dam fail, we're gonna have some water in town. And most of the basements, we're gonna have to evacuate town. So what FEMA has is they want us to put together a pre-disaster recovery kind of a plan. The plan, this is kind of a framework. And what we do is we look at the policies, procedures, shared responsibilities. On page 2, it looks like the organizational overview. Policy agents, of course, agencies are the board of commissioners, the city. Primary contact agencies, and primary and coordination agencies, support agencies, and then utility communities. Those are the agencies we'll be working with on page 3. Page 3 deals with purpose, scope, shared responsibility, and how to activate the plan. Page 4 deals with situations and the assumptions. And then the concept of operations deals with, we have pre-disaster preparedness, we have an emergency coordination center we can open up here in the courthouse or up at the fairgrounds. At 4-H buildings, we have to evacuate the town. Short-term recovery activities include, the continuity of government, sheriff's office, things like that. Restore essential services, goods and services for the community. And then return the community to stability. One of the first things we do on page 6 is going to have to do an initial damage assessment. We'll do that according to, that's how we get money from the feds. We turn that information into Montana DES, they give it to the governor. Our county commissioners and city may declare an emergency. We request the governor to declare an emergency, and then the governor requests the president to declare an emergency. And that's all based upon the initial damage assessment. And then we will request state, federal assistance. We're going to rely upon mutual aid resources because we're a small community. We're going to ask our partners next door, adjacent counties and stuff, to come and help us. If they're affected, then we're going to draw out of Great Falls or Missouri or somewhere else. On page 7, it deals with federal disaster assistance programs. These are federal laws that have been around for quite a few years. And it talks about the Stanford Act. And there's individual assistance programs, mass care, emergency assistance, crisis counseling, unemployment for people that don't work, can't work, defense legal services, disaster case management. And then on page 8, it talks about individual household programs. That's for individuals. And public assistance, that's for government infrastructure, that's for us. Programs, how to get our roads, bridges, buildings back up and running. And then there's another program, the federal government has Fire Management Assistance Grant Program, that's for wildland fires. Broadwater County participated in that program in the 2000 fire season with Cost Bend Monroe Fire. And they'll pick up 75% of the cost. And we actually ended up putting our firefighters on the payroll. If they're not working at their job and they're on the fire, then they don't have an income. That's a federal program, there's a procedure how to do that. Long-term recovery from disasters, talks about how we're going to do that. building a long-term recovery process, and there's various steps that are recommended. There's all kinds of websites there, anybody can get on there and look at those. And then on page 10, we talk about recovery manager. We need somebody that just actually might work for a year or two doing this management. The feds recommend it be somebody different from the DES coordinator, disaster emergency service coordinator, because that coordinator is focusing on preparing for the next emergency, the next disaster. This is somebody that has background, perhaps in economic development, stuff like that. And they recommend having a local disaster recovery committee. We have a local emergency planning committee. They're gonna be busy planning, continue planning for the next emergency.
So my question on that is that something that we set up now ahead of time, or
Nope.
at that time?
At that time, when we declare an emergency, we're gonna deal right away with the short-term emergency things. And we're gonna handle that with the sheriff's office going, fire department, and hospital, the ATM machines, right? After we get that going, then we're gonna switch into the long term. And then you're gonna appoint a manager, and you're gonna appoint local disaster recovery committee at that time. The reason we wait is it might affect different businesses. If it has nothing to do with downtown here, it might have something to do with Tosses. Might deal with, like, another big disaster our community could have is a train wreck with this Vulcan oil exploding. And half the town, perhaps close to town, burned half the town down. So there'd be different people on it based upon the type of a disaster we have. So we kind of wait until then. Page 11 deals with authorities, references. And then on the back page, there's acronyms, federal government, military, they can't do anything without an acronym. And I try to, when I write stuff, I try to use the full name with the acronym in parentheses. And Commissioner, that's kind of our framework, that's why it's a framework. It's not a plan to recover from any disaster or a particular disaster. It would be very differently with earthquake, flood, snowstorm, long-term power outage, fire, all different types of emergency. And try to keep it as short as possible. We want this to be part of our emergency operations plan, as is Annex K. Any questions, commissioners?
So I see it's changed a little bit since the previous one.
It has.
Okay.
We have tried to make it simpler, more direct. We've had some feedback from different people. And try to cut out stuff, but make it useful. So that it can be pulled off the shelf real quickly, be as presented to the commissioners and the city council. This is kind of a roadmap. It's not real specific on type of a disaster. That'll come with the type of disaster we have. Maybe we never have to use it, hopefully not. It's kind of a roadmap, framework, as opposed to a plan.
Great, thanks.
Public, have any questions? Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I want to just personally, Tim Ravendall speaking here, thank you for bringing in a document for us as citizens to follow what you're talking about. It makes a big difference to be able to know what really is going on. We can reference it back later and have the actual details in, if there's any questions, we know where to go. Thank you.
You're welcome, certainly. Commissioner, want to adopt this? You can do it today, or put it on the agenda for later, do whatever you wish to.
Is there a motion to adopt this, or put it on the agenda later? We have it on the
I-
agenda today.
Yeah, I would move that we adopt it. There's been a tremendous amount of work for this. We can include it with our already existing plan. I like the updates. I think they've been well thought out. So nice work, Mike.
Yeah,
It's been an effort by the local emergency planning committee and our partner, DES deputy coordinators.
Well,
Team-
thank you
team
to all
effort.
of them.
Thank you, team effort.
So yes, I move we adopt.
Is there a second? Motion been made and seconded to adopt the pre-disaster recovery framework. Is any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. We will return back to the certificate of survey review. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
So Tara was unavailable, but Corey Swanson, our county attorney, happened to buzz my office just as I was getting ready to call her. he would like to take a look at this. That was our county attorney's recommendation. This is documentation that I, in regards to what Bernadette was speaking about, Tara Depew, and the bill that she argued for, it was proposed Senate Bill 198. This is from Montana Association of Planners. They send off a report to all MAP members at the end of the legislative session, so this was their report concerning that bill, proposed bill.
Okay. So it seems like they had some of the similar questions that we did, access. Okay. Well, when will Corey be able to look at this, do you think?
I know he has an 11 o'clock meeting. But I don't know what the rest of his day looks like, I just know he has
We're probably gonna have to
someone
wait till
coming
next
in at
week to
11,
get, wait till next week to get an answer, is that right?
possibly. And with that being said, do you feel that that these COSs, I'm not asking you to answer this question now, this is a question I want you to be thinking about. Currently, the COSs, when they come in from the surveyor, I look at them and the sanitarian looks at them. And then you get them. Do you want the county attorney, is there anyone else you would like to be looking at these surveys? Should we set up a survey review committee? I know other counties do that. It's a set day of the week, set time. Anyway, just something I want you to maybe be thinking about.
That's not a bad idea.
So that all of this, all of the burden of answering these questions is not on you, sitting here at this meeting when I don't have answers.
Because we're kind of in the process of redoing this, right?
Correct, yeah,
So that would probably be a time to
to discuss that, yes.
do this.
Members of the committee, in my opinion, would be great to have Public Works and law enforcement. As well as planning and sanitation.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
As we listened to the requirements that was read, at one point that was said is that the family transfers require surveys, is which was done. As far as the requirement for access, the gentleman that's getting this has access to this property from a road in other places, so he has legal access. Now, if he's going to sell it, then that's another requirement for a later review. He has to do family transfers or whatever it is in order to have someone approve these for transfer. Then if he does that, then he has to come back to whatever this committee is and say, okay, where am I gonna get access to sell this? That is not the intent. The intent is doing a family transfer the son, it has CRP on it, the land he has next to it has CRP on it. he has access to that. So therefore, it's not an issue that we need to cover at this time, in my mind. On the other hand, if you think the access road needs to be there, Bernadette says it's in our records, we can put it on and have it back to you. I don't think that's necessary, but it's available, it's there. Dana approved the access, it was paid for when we was considering this. I've been talking to Nicole and other people for 2 or 3 years on this. Didn't expect to wait till we had the problems that we're having now, but that's where we are now. But from my standpoint, this is a family transfer, not subject to review, it meets the requirements. He has access, we don't need to worry about access in the future, because that's not required at this point. It would be if he divides it.
And I guess that's kind of where I was going with my comment I made earlier, is that something that we would deal with later
Unless,
in a different review.
unless that parcel was sold after the 2-year time period, there would be no review.
Gotcha.
That would only be if the boundaries changed. But if they remain intact, you know, as they're being presented
So if they
here.
wanted to do another transfer, would it become up for review then?
Correct. But then if that's still the requirement, you know, if state law hasn't changed to make that a clear requirement for access, you still have that dilemma.
I guess my concern is that if owner A owns this piece of land and him and his wife get into a nasty divorce and somehow she ends up with that piece of land and he owns everything around it, she doesn't have any access. Or if some family fight dispute blows up somewhere, what I'm saying is if you get a family fight dispute going on or something and this piece of land is involved in some kind of a settlement, there's no guaranteed access to the piece of land, and it is a subdivided piece of land. It can be sold separately. So you really have no way of, I mean, all kinds of stuff can happen and you have no access to that piece of property.
Right. But if it's not something that you can require, I'm saying I don't have an answer for you.
I would like to hear from Tara, and I would like to hear from Corey. I'm saying that, I know when you have 2 attorneys in a room, you generally get 3 different answers, but I would like to hear what both of them have to say to the questions that I have on this. So I would ask that we postpone this till Monday, so that we can have a full slate of answers, and when we do make a decision, we have that information.
I agree.
I would agree with that.
Just so I'm very clear on your questions, because I don't want to have to leave at that meeting and ask more questions. I mean, not that you couldn't have more, but I just want to be sure I'm capturing your questions correctly. So what is the definition of subdivision evasion? That's one question. Second question, can you require a survey or a surveyor to provide access to all lots within a family transfer? Correct? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir, Mr. Price.
If the surveyor simply added the road that's there, giving access, and filed a new certificate of survey, would that satisfy your concerns?
That would satisfy my concerns, yes.
Okay,
And
we'll do
what
that.
about this other track back here though?
Pardon?
This track 1 over here, how would there be access to
There's
this track?
access on there now, there's a road to it now.
Yeah, there's
Back
an
carefully,
access right-
There is a
Where
road
is
going
it?
back.
Right here. Right there.
Oh, private, okay, okay, I was looking at that as a well access, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, perfect.
So I guess, so if they came back with this with an access on there, we're okay with this one, but we still would like those questions answered going on
Certainly.
with our next subject.
Certainly.
So does that satisfy the boards? If they come back with an access to that lot, are we okay with this transfer? Or is there something else that we wanna do before we get that back?
I want the legal opinions.
Okay, okay. So we'll table this again until next Monday.
Okay.
I'd just like to make a comment that the legislation was taped and online. I think it'd be very educational to watch, because the arguments you guys are having right now are very similar to the arguments that were had for about an hour, and the legislation still said no. If it's exempt from review, it's exempt from review. And just like right now, we've had 45 minutes of review of an exemption from review. So I just caution that the reason MCA has surveys that are exempt from review, what is the definition of exempt from review?
Thank you for that. Okay, so we will go on to our 10:30 here, certificate of survey review procedure update to include landowners.
Yes, which we kind of covered some of that earlier, but, so this is the certificate of survey review procedure checklist.
Thank you.
I made an edit. Number 5. That the planner and the landowner, previously that mine stated that the surveyor would present it to you for review.